off. Welcome everybody to our February Some Ventures Band of Angels monthly pitch event. This is I think pretty much everyone on here for the most part. Actually, I see two new names, so bear with me for a second. We'll just give the high level on how this event's going to run this evening. We're going to have three presenters come in and give. Generally, it's about a 10-minute presentation, but because we have a little bit longer format tonight, we're going to give the founders a little bit more time to present. Not going to give the hard cut off at right at 10 minutes. If you go over 1 or 2 minutes, that'll be fine. And then we'll follow it up with 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A. And the whole goal here is to, one, obviously, it's an awesome opportunity to build a pipeline of deal flow, both for our fund, Some Ventures, but then also to share it with our angel investor community. We have members from the Band of Angels, as well as Pasadena Angels and TCA, and Park City Angels sometimes that jump on this monthly call. So founders, as you get a chance to present, our focus here is at the end of the meeting, we'll stick around and we'll talk about you for a little bit, and then we'll have an opportunity to share the companies that finish first and sometimes finish first and second with our Northern California group with the Band of Angels. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the band's the oldest angel investment group out of Silicon Valley, been around for over 30 years, been lucky to be a part of that group for almost 7 years now, and chairing the LA SIG out here for 5 years. So in that time frame, we've sent a number of deals that we both funded down here in LA and funded through Some Ventures, and then the band's followed on and invested in as well. So it's been a wonderful collaboration, and really just excited to continue growing our presence and really expanding with our increased involvement from Pasadena Angels and TCA too. So one thing I'll say is just if in the event you don't get called up to present to the Northern California group, I wouldn't lose any sleep over that, and that some of our best investments, or at least my best investments, were ones that did not actually get wide adoption from the group as a whole. So you really, while we're, I think, a relatively smart group of investors, I think no one ever has a full crystal ball on what your companies can become. And I certainly know that a number of investors who join these calls actually will occasionally just reach out and make investments independently as well. So with that, I want to just thank everybody for making the time today, and just share just a few brief sort of updates as to what we've been up to as a fund, and just some just sort of exciting news that we're working on. I'd say first off, we had a really wonderful LP summit last month. So thank you all for those who were able to come out and attend. Shared the video on YouTube, and actually shared it via email, the link as well here recently. So if you were unable to attend and want to check out and hear a little bit more from our team, it was refreshing to be able to have our team, all present largely, and sharing their involvement and really how we're coming together for our next fund at the meeting. And then additionally, we've had some deals that we've been working on very actively over the past couple months. I would say leading the way from my time commitment standpoint has been UNEST. And Mike, thank you so much for making the time to jump on the call today. I'll share that we ended up closing the first $1.5 million note that went into UNEST, and actually kicking off the equity raise. It was done kind of concurrently because we knew that we needed to capitalize the company and make sure that there was enough runway to get through the equity raise. So it was structured as sort of a back-to-back funding event. And Mike, maybe I can just hand it over to you for a minute just to share just sort of a quick update. And I know you're getting ready to do the road show, and already over halfway to our goal. So excited about that. Mike, you wanna take it away for a minute?
Sure. Yeah, nice to see everyone. Stuart mentioned, things are progressing on our end. We closed out the convertible note at the end of January. which is 1.5. We're just raising another 2.5 now. We have about half of that circled up. So gonna be making probably a few trips in the next week or two to both coasts and try to raise the rest of it. But things are progressing well on our end. Our team is resilient. We're continuing to add quite a few customers every month. We're experiencing still strong retention, making some product improvements. So we feel confident about closing this round. We have some exciting partner announcements as well that'll be announced probably in the coming month or so. So yeah, right now we're just heads down, getting this last sort of 1.2, 1.3 million closed over the next 45 days, and then it's back to building. So
Yeah. I'll just add on to that and share with the group that been hard at work in updating the data room, the DD memo, which will be available to everyone, as well as the pitch deck. So you'll certainly have an opportunity to take a look and see learn more about the progress the team's made. In addition to I guess the high level points that Mike's touched on, and I guess the underlying core point is the how attractive the deal terms are, in that we were able to set the pre-money for UNest at a $3.6 million valuation. So it's going to be pretty attractively priced, especially relative to the revenue traction. They achieved over nearly $2 million in revenue last year, with over half of that on the recurring subscription basis. So more news to come on UNest, but just want to keep everybody in the loop as to what we're up to. Other than that, we touched on Randy. I'm looking around just to make sure that I think we are going to have a couple other founders who may join us with updates a little bit later on. There seem to be lagging a little bit tonight, but we want to hand things over to Sandra in a moment. Let me brag about Sandra just for a second with Payverse. It's a bummer that Frank's not on the call tonight, because Frank is kind of one of our resident fintech experts, and when he recommends a founder an opportunity, I certainly usually sit up and listen. And given Sandra's incredible background, which I'll let her touch on, and her experience, she was brought in and really, in a way, sort of righted the ship, I would say, for Payverse, and has struck some really exciting partnerships in the remittance space, and excited for some of the opportunities that are coming out of China as well as elsewhere that we're going to get to learn about tonight. Lastly, I think that we can safely say that it's okay to share that Artemis is leading this deal, leading this opportunity, and I don't know if Diane is going to be able to make it on tonight or not, but they're very they're strong co-investors whom we've worked with over the years. And I normally I've been told that I've been stepping on too many of the high level points of the deals while I introduce the founders. So I'm going to make an effort to just hand it over to you, Sandra, and let you take it away tonight. But I really appreciate you making the time for us, and we're excited that we're going to have a chance to participate in this round and invest in you. So why don't you go for it? I'll enable screen sharing here if you want to pull up the deck, and we'll dig in.
Awesome. Thanks, Garrett. Hi, everybody. Sandra Blair. I'll share the deck with you all. Just a quick on my background. So I've been in payments and fintech about 30 years. And this is, as you'll see, this is super exciting for me. It's something that's, really solving some huge global commerce problems. So here we go. I'll share my screen, and then I'll stick to 10 minutes, and then we'll open up for questions. All right, everybody can see my screen, I assume.
Good.
Okay, good. Well, so what is Payverse, right? So we really focus on domestic and cross-border remittance. Sometimes some people call it push to card, account to account. And as Garrett said, we have some pretty big partners. So we work with the biggest networks in the world: Visa, MasterCard, UnionPay. And we're also a direct processor of UnionPay. So we can actually process all 9 billion. For most people that don't know, UnionPay is actually larger than Visa and MasterCard combined globally. and we're a direct processor, and we can process all 9 billion cards. As Garrett said, we're backed by the Artemis Fund, as well as Alpha Ascent Group, and they really started our seed round that we raised about a year and a half ago. So we focus on cross-border remittance. Some of our differentiation, people get kind of nervous, a new processor, this is going to be really hard, payments can be hard. We have a very easy implementation, live in 5, meaning you can get up and running from a business perspective and a technical perspective within 5 days and start accepting or remitting payments. We've built an entirely new system. Many of the payment systems, especially in the United States, are very old and, built in COBOL and built in the 60s and 70s, but we started from scratch and we built a brand new processing system in AWS, and we're completely compliant as a startup, and as a processor. It's important. We've been through all of our audits, all of our compliance, which is typically what most of our clients ask us when we first get started. What are some of the problems that we're solving in the marketplace? So global remittance, moving money around the world, is incredibly hard. In fact, the Artemis team told me the other day they had to pay somebody for a dinner in Canada and they couldn't figure out how to do it. They were going to have to send an international wire to Canada to be able to pay for something. So we really think that global remittance is a huge differentiator, and we can move money to 180 countries around the world within minutes, leveraging the Visa, MasterCard, and UnionPay rails. Commerce can be super complex as well, especially in the B2B space when you're trying to pay invoices from coming in from around the world. On the acceptance side, Chinese consumers are incredible consumers who want to buy Western goods and services. It's very hard for them to buy with their card of choice, which is their UnionPay card, whether it be their UnionPay credit card and certainly their UnionPay debit card. And we are really the only processor in the United States who can process all 9 billion cards as well as debit cards. I'll get into the competitors and explain that. And we also, from a commercial perspective, as we go to market, we can be less than half of the commercial rates on UnionPay acceptance than the current providers in the United States. Oops, sorry. Just quickly, the financial outlook. So we exited 2023 with a modest $366,000 ARR. We project to leave 2024 with a $300,000 MRR and a $3.6 million ARR. And really what's driven in that is that we are live with our remittance products in Q1 of 2024. We will be growing our acceptance and really, from a payments perspective, really on a hockey stick as we hit the end of 2024. We have large gross margins. 2023 is a little bit of an anomaly because we have a lot of people paying monthly minimums, but not fully transacting yet. So the cost of goods is not butted up against the revenue. But as you'll see, as we grow, gross margins of 58 to 64% over the next 3 years, certainly a very lucrative business. Trying to, sorry, technical difficulties. Here we go. Oh, I think I skipped something. Sorry. Let me go back. Sorry about that. Let me go back. So we talked about global remittance, UnionPay acceptance, and the problems we're solving. There's a lot of use cases. And again, I'm sure you all have access to these decks, but whether it be B2B remittance, being able to pay invoices, we have a contract with one of the largest ERP solutions in the United States to automate accounts payable for them. So as invoices are coming in from around the world, the users of the ERP solution can automatically pay the supplier invoices with a press of a button and pay them no matter what country they're in a matter of minutes. There's P2P remittance. One of the things, we also have a social impact to our business, as all of Artemis's do. And today, when people want to send money back home from the United States, whether that's $200 every 2 weeks to send to their parents in whatever country, it can be really cost prohibitive. And with our remittance solutions, we are a much cheaper way, while we're still making 70 to 80% margins, a much cheaper way for people to send money back home. And then in terms of union pay acceptance, I mean, one of the verticals that we focus on is tuition. There's a lot of Chinese students in the United States, and today their parents really have no way to pay with a union pay card. And so that's really a critical thing for them to be able to use their card of choice. And so we're working with most of the large tuition providers and payment providers to enable union pay for those use cases. And then when you just think about the remittance market size globally, is incredibly large. So Tunes, if you all are familiar with Tunes, just did a study that it's growing, but the TAM for cross-border payments is $136 trillion and growing. And so we hit in each one of those smaller circles that you see that we solve those problems. And on the left-hand side, as you see, Visa, MasterCard, and UnionPay cards make up 98% of the cards in the world. And we're connected to all of those rails and can touch all of those cards. And to talk quickly about our competitors, there are other people that have some capabilities that we have, but they don't have the full capabilities. So on global remittance, many of the competitors can't get to China. Many of them are not global. Many of them do not focus on B2B, which is a large total addressable market. On union pay acceptance, most of the large providers in the United States today rely on Discover, while Discover can only process a very low percentage of the credit cards and 0% of the debit cards, which is 90% of the union pay cards that are issued today are debit cards. So there's a huge opportunity for us for the largest processors in the United States. I think we talked about the 3 largest card brands and union pay acceptance, and our approval rates of being 95%, and as well as our commercial terms being much cheaper than the current players in the market that have very low acceptance rates. And who do we sell to? So we sell to existing payment providers, money service providers that have existing portfolios with a demand of union pay acceptance and or remittance from a money service provider where they can't get to China or they can't get to other countries around the world easily. In terms of our revenue model, we charge a percentage on all transactions. And then we have other one-time fees such as implementation fees, monthly minimums, platform fees. Kind of our history quickly, we launched in March of 2022. We were funded in our seed round in June of 2022. We signed agreements with our banks. We signed agreements with Visa. We signed agreements with our ERP providers. And so some of the largest entities in the United States kind of see that this is an incredible opportunity to work with us on cross-border remittance, and we're thrilled to have big names in the game with us. The team is made up of industry veterans. Rodrigue and I have worked together before at Merchant E. Marcus has been in payments for 30 some years, strong backgrounds. Lucky to have a board and board advisors across the industry and can really reach us into any financial services provider worldwide. The revenue, which I skipped too fast, but we talked about that. And really what we're doing right now, we're raising a seed extension round of $2 million. We have already raised 1.25 million of the $2 million, and really using that money to complete our Visa Direct development and continue staying up with audits and other things that are required for us through the banks as well as through all the largest networks in the world. Try to get through it in 10 minutes. So happy to answer any questions. I know I went through it quickly. There's a lot of data behind all this and detailed financial models.
Yeah, I think one of the things, Sandra, that would be helpful for you to share with the group is just touching on the competitive landscape a little bit. Obviously, this partnership that you have, or not just the partnership with UnionPay, but the other partnerships you've been able to develop are pretty unique given the stage of the company. Could you talk a little bit through how those were able to come to fruition, and
Yep.
threats from other providers, or how you're thinking about the moat that you've already been able to create?
Yeah, sure. So we start with on the UnionPay side, the way that relationship came together was Cleveland Brown, who's the chairman of our board, was asked through Sunil Sabharwal, one of our advisors, to go to Shanghai to meet with the chairman of UnionPay, who was very frustrated with the lack of UnionPay acceptance in the United States. UnionPay had been around for 10 years with a reciprocal agreement with Discover, really with no volume in the United States. An example of that is in 2021, UnionPay did $14.2 trillion with a T globally, and did $8 billion in the United States, one of obviously the largest economy in the world. So they put together the plan to put the technology in place to connect to all of UnionPay systems to enable all credit and debit cards, as well as to put the bank sponsorship model together, which is the way that cards process in the United States, like Visa and MasterCard. So the UnionPay relationship is very strong, and they obviously are huge advocates of Payverse, because their goal is to drive volume as well as have their consumers be able to transact in the United States with their UnionPay cards. On the Visa side, I know I've been close to Visa most of my career. I've implemented Visa Direct twice prior to joining Payverse, and really have worked with Visa on how important it is to go global. Visa Direct was really focused domestically, even though Visa has rails around the world, and how important it is to remove those friction points of being able to move money around the world, especially when we already have rails in place. So my relationship with Visa really enabled us to be one of the first providers. And actually, I don't think that, Garrett, I probably haven't even told you this. And so since we're down the path and we're almost finished with the Visa Direct implementation globally, Visa actually has a backlog of 100 tech providers that need Visa Direct, and they need it globally. And so once we're live, working with Visa, going to market together and prioritizing these 100 tech providers so that we can start to be essentially Visa's enabler for Visa Direct globally. So the relationships with the networks obviously are critical. On the MasterCard side, just to be clear about that with everybody, I have a great relationship with MasterCard, and we do eventually plan to go direct to MasterCard to be able to do remittance. But Visa and MasterCard have an agreement with each other that if you ride one rail, you can get to the other. So we're doing a Visa Direct implementation, which also allows us to gateway to every MasterCard in the world. So the use cases go on and on and on. I have only a few in this deck, but there are amazing use cases to be able to push money around the world. One other thing to add, and then I want to take more questions. Our technology actually doesn't just work in the United States. Our technology works all over the world. And so it doesn't just have to be originated in the United States. So we're actually also working today with providers in Latin America and Europe that also need the same capabilities, and don't have the time or the money or the resources to build it. So really, as we expand beyond 2025 and 2026, it's really an international play to be able to move money from all countries to all other countries around the world.
Oh, that's awesome. I think we had a question in the chat around exit strategy. Let me pull it back up. I saw it here somewhere. There we go. Yeah, just please just talk through the your goal from an exit standpoint and where you see from a valuation.
So, I maybe don't have the greatest answer for that, to be honest with you all. I mean, I'm heads down on what this company can be in the next, 5 to 7 years. I think as you see that our revenues ramping as fast as they do, I mean, I certainly think that we can be a $400-500 million revenue company in the next 5 years. So, I think there will be strategic pursuers of us, as I think about it, whether it would be a Visa, one of the car brands, or will it be a large payment processor that needs to not worry about 3 basis points of margins that they're dealing with today, and they need business to get them global and give them, margins that are 200-300 basis points. That's how I see it today. I mean, there's no predicting it, but it's certainly the total addressable market is massive on the remittance side and on the union pay acceptance side. Hopefully that answers your question. I haven't thought a lot about an exit.
Well, I think that one of the things that I probably spent more time pressing you on, because I spend a little bit more time with our founders on what do you think are the next fundable milestones after this race, and what are the goals over the course of the next 18 to 24 months, and where does that get you to from a valuation standpoint? So I know you touched on it briefly in the presentation, but I think that also helps provide some context just from even a markup standpoint, what you're shooting for your seed extension investors. So what you want to touch on those points real quick, and then we'll take a few other questions from the group.
Yeah, sure. Well, our plan is to by this summer to be at 100,000 MRR and to go to raise our A round sometime in the fall. So that's the plan in terms of the next milestone for us. And the valuation for that, we're thinking that that's closer to a $40-50 million valuation at that point in time. That's kind of what we're heads down focused on right now, getting to the $100,000 MRR mark.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, with that target in mind, can you talk through a little? I just got a question in chat here around your current burn rate, key hires with use of funds, and sort of where from a team standpoint, where are the holes that you need to fill in the short term?
Yeah, sure. Our current burn is $175,000 a month. A lot of that being around being a regulated direct processor. So a lot of kind of overhead from an audit perspective, and staying within regulations and staying within compliance. The biggest hire that we need right now is sales. I'm the full-time salesperson, as well as obviously raising money and things like that. So I think a salesperson that comes from the industry, for sure. We have an incredible pipeline, and when I say pipeline, it's not pipeline a list of names. It's people that are actually interested. We're actually in the middle of the funnel or at the bottom of the funnel, and really bringing somebody in to close the deals and then start the implementations. And so then the follow-up to that would be additional implementation folks as well as underwriters. So those are the 3. But the key person really is having a really strong salesperson that can finish what's already in the pipeline, and get those contracted and live.
Hey, I think I've covered the chat questions here. Let's open it up for anyone else from the group want to chime in here, ask a question. I'm looking for hands raised. Feel free to jump in, guys, if there's any. Well, you covered a lot of information, so I think that what I'd encourage you to do is I'll give everyone a second here, because occasionally occasionally one comes in, oh, this isn't a question, but it's a comment. She's a very strong presenter, direct message from one of our, I don't know why that didn't go out publicly, but there you go. That's there you got.
I felt like I talked too fast, so
Oh, that's nice. I think that one of the things that's just helpful and for everyone to sort of have an understanding of is the onboarding process and what that looks like when you do onboard a new customer from moment of engagement and interest to contracts. Can you walk through that sales cycle just a little bit more for the group, because I think it's an area that you, Frank, and others are very familiar with, but I think it's, may not be as familiar for all of our members.
yeah, sure. From the very beginning of the sales process, Garrett?
Yeah, to literally implementation. I
Yeah,
always that timeline.
Yep. So when we engage customers, most of them are payment companies, right? So they understand in general how payment processing works, but in some cases there's an education around union pay. Because even some people, veterans of payments, don't really realize how large union pay is and what, not only from a card size, but a transaction size perspective. But once we do that, pretty quickly we go to term sheets. Our pricing's simple. For those who know payments, it can be very complex for Visa and MasterCard. We try to keep it really simple. We go to term sheets, and once we agree to the term sheets, we have standard contracts. It's as easy as the way that we've set up the implementation. It's as easy as, let's say if you're buying something on Amazon and you're going to check out, and let's say Amazon's a client. Hopefully one day Amazon will be a client. When you start keying in your credit card, we identify from the first 6 digits of the credit card that it's a union pay card. And so Amazon would see that it's a union pay card, route it to Payverse. Payverse would send back approval decline, just like with the Visa and MasterCard. So they literally, to implement the solution, just have a list of the first 6 digits of the credit cards, all the union pay credit cards and how they start, and they route it to us. And that's all they have to do. And then we fund just like they get funded for Visa and MasterCard. And we give them, if there's updates to the credit card numbers for union pay, they update them monthly, and it's as simple as that. They just route the transactions to us. And the same on the remittance side. Once remittance is initiated from a money service provider that sends money to other countries around the world, they have a list of cards from us. They see that it's a card, a union pay card or a Visa card or a MasterCard internationally, and they route the transaction to Payverse. We send the money on the remittance side. We send the instructions to Visa and to our bank. They send the money. So really, really simple implementations. And that's some part of our sales process is really getting people to understand this is really simple. This is not your tech team having to spend 3 months to implement something. This is your tech team. If you can get an engineer to focus on it, probably develop and test it in a day.
Got it. And so I think that's just the last question I saw come through here is just, and I know you touched on it, doesn't hurt to hit the point again, just talking through again, what's going to prevent new entrants from doing the same thing. It's the relationship. I'll let you you go for it. Just hitting that for one of our audience members again, please.
Answer it too. I mean, there's nothing physically preventing somebody else from doing it, but yes, I would say that the relationship example for you with union pay, this is a 4 to 6 year relationship, 4 years in the build mode. Union pay certainly has allowed us to not only have direct connectivity, but direct access to all of their executives and all of their team, and they're going to market with us. There are obviously Discover, you would think, is the player that they've been in with Union Pay for 10 years, and they've chosen not to do the technology and implementation work. When I've talked to the other processors, the fact that we've done the work is a relief to them because they have large roadmaps. They have a lot of things going on. And, the fact that they can leverage the build that we've done for the last 4 years and be able to turn it on in 5 days you know, is just telling. And on the Visa side, you know, there is a trust thing, right? And so the fact that Visa is going to send all of these people and all of these prospects to Payverse, even though we're a startup, has something to do with myself, Roderick, and Marcus, right? They trust us. They understand that we understand international commerce, AML, BSA, everything that you have to do. So just being a trusted partner with the networks, I think, obviously has helped us a lot.
Great. Well, again, thank you so much for making the time after a long day. I would encourage you to stick around because I think you might receive some direct messages in the chat with any other additional questions. But we'll certainly follow up with you afterwards if you have to sign off. Okay. Well,
thank you all.
thank you so much. So next up, I'm going to double check here, but there he is. There's Camilo Lopez. We have one of my of our partners, Douglas Elman. I don't think Dan was able to make it on tonight, but I know he sent us very strong recommendation for what is the future of video and content creation within not only Douglas Elman, but broader real estate market. We've got a serial entrepreneur here tonight who's actually sort of taken Elman, I would say, by storm here in the way in which they're thinking about marketing their properties. And I had the chance to speak with Camilo. Was it last week now? All the days blend together when you work every day. It's kind of tricky here to remember exactly. It was pretty darn recently, and go through. And one of the things that stood out was just the gradual progression, which I love to see from an entrepreneur, of when they've built a business in the space. And then they've taken the core understanding from that business and then built a tech company on top of it. And that really can essentially take their expertise and make it scalable. And that's what I feel like, Camilo's done with his team with Infinite Creator. And I almost just want to ping you and just ask you about all the various properties you've been in, because he's been in some of the greatest properties in the entire world. And hopefully you'll get to touch on some of those experiences in creating content around those properties. But what I'll just close with saying is that I know Element is not just an investor, but they're a customer as well. And really, and it seems to be at an inflection point where they're getting ready to scale their tech platform. And I'll hand it over to you now, Camilo, to share with the group about your race.
Well, thank you, Garrett, for a warm introduction. I want to try to share the screen now. Is that okay? Let's see. Does everyone see the deck?
Looks good.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for taking the time to listen to my pitch. My name's Camilo Lopez. I'm the co-founder of Infinite Creator Real Estate. It is a photo and video platform on iOS and Android that empowers anyone, anywhere in the world, to take photos and video of a property in just 15 minutes for just $25. Think of us as the offer up for real estate. We reduce the friction from a 7-day process to prepare a property to go to market. We reduce it to 15 minutes. And then the budget of which depends greatly on the property, because there's obviously rentals and then there's obviously $100 million homes. But on average in the United States, somewhere between $500 and $2,500 is invested to create the visual assets to take a property to market. Let's see. So the problem is that realtors with a low marketing budget, content is expensive, time consuming, and challenging. And video is 80% of the internet traffic, and it's greatly underutilized in real estate due to the budgetary restraints for most properties under $2 million. And so for the most part, people have inexpensive photography and they don't have video. When you have every single platform in the world prioritizing video because they want to increase user time on site, the most important thing that a person can do is put video at the forefront of their marketing. Our solution is to create high quality, low cost, instant edited content with just your smartphone without any impediments. There's no equipment to buy. You don't need to buy a $5,000 Matterport. You don't need a gimbal stabilizer, and you don't need any experience. The technology is so simple that my mother can use it. My mother is a very intelligent woman. She's very educated, but she's not a photographer and she's not tech savvy. And with just your mobile phone and your hands, our intuitive in-app features, you're able to create a professional real estate video with logos, with licensed music. You're able to get a branded version, an unbranded version, and a social media reel for social networks. And we're able to reduce the costs, as I've mentioned before, from an average of $500 to $2,500 down to 1%. So our cost is $25 per video, $1 per photo. Then we scale up with subscriptions. The more that you subscribe, the more that you save. And that's just our B2B. We have a B2E solution as well, where we have sometimes several $100,000 in annual recurring revenue for licensing our platform. Let me see real quick. Here we go. Our story goes back 10 years. In 2014, we created a company together to do one thing and one thing better than anyone else. That company was called Lifestyle Production Group. And the purpose of that company was to focus on high fidelity real estate videos for homes over $30 million. And so we focused on Miami, New York, and Hamptons in the first 2 years. We were focused on all the residential properties that were over $50 million. And we were also taking care of multi-billion-dollar towers that were going to exit. They were going to be selling these expensive condos. Our average price was about $5,000 per property. So when the average package in the US is $2,500 to $500, it shows you the level of quality and the arena that we were performing at for the last decade. So we created the standard for real estate videography right around 2016. In 2014, there was no real estate video industry. And so we like to say we created the standard to which others compare. We scaled nationally, and we were recognized internationally for creating that standard. And through those years, we had a wonderful, lot of opportunities to build wonderful relationships. One of them was with Douglas Elliman. Others were with other, property owners at the company. So we have a great reputation and lots of relationships that we built over the years. In 2018, we realized we had reached a point where we wouldn't be able to scale much more, and that real estate video had started to be greatly accepted as a standard. And we started our project to do research and development. We started diverting resources and put 10 software engineers alongside our photo editors and our video editors that were all in-house. And we set them on a mission to, again, do one thing and one thing better than anyone else, which was to create a professional tool that professional photographers would use and do use every single day, but it was so easy that anyone could use it. And so we accomplished that. About a year later, we had a prototype that was so easy a photographer could use it. And in about 18 months ago, a version came out that was so easy anyone could use it. And at that point, we knew exactly who we were going to go to. We went to the chairman of Douglas Elliman, and we shared with them the technology. And through our reputation and trust within the organization, they not only instantly decided to white label the technology. So we were able to conduct an enterprise solution for our first client. And we also garnered essentially a pre-seed investment at that point. And at the end of 2022, we launched both of our apps simultaneously. It was our launch partner was Douglas Elliman. So we launched the Infinite Creator app in the iOS and Android store for anyone in the world. And we launched the Elliman Productions app for the 8,500 real estate agents across the United States that work at Douglas Elliman. And then in 2024, we began our phase 3 version, which was instead of just helping people create content for properties, we are able to create content now for any sales professional in the world. And these commercials are sometimes worth $1,000 to $2,000. And for $59 a month now, anybody can build their brand with video. 2 months ago, 3 months ago, the National Association of Realtors invested in our platform through their REACH program, identifying us as one of the top 7 innovative prop tech companies that are going to disrupt the industry and assist them with their next 100-year journey of innovating the real estate industry. And so the National Association of Realtors REACH program is an accelerator. They pair us with mentors. They introduce us to hundreds of MLS executives and really promote us with their blogs and webinars and whatnot. And they're a wonderful organization to be associated with. The product is both patented globally, in UK, in Europe, in China, in Canada, and the United States. It's fully issued patent. We are also powered by artificial intelligence, where our photo technology is very sophisticated. It will discern whether it's an interior photo or an exterior photo. If it's an exterior photo, it will replace the sky. If it's an interior photo, it will wash the walls. It will automatically enhance the image, correct the perspective, and size it for the internet, load it to Dropbox, and deliver it to the user all within 3 minutes. Our videos are instantly edited locally on the device and instantly shareable to social media. More videos equals more clients, which equals more revenue. With 2 million realtors in the United States, we're very excited about empowering the subset of agents that otherwise would not be able to afford video. And we consider this an ability to level the playing field, democratizing video. We come from the space where agents could pay us $20,000 a month to promote themselves with video. And when the average real estate agent is making $4,000 or $5,000 a month, it's an unfair playing field, and we feel very passionate about empowering everyone and anyone to build their brand with video. So we created this product called Build Your Brand with Video, or it's called Agent Branded Content. And we have 500 templates to help agents demonstrate their expertise, increase reach and interaction, build relationships, and rank higher on SEO. Part of our thesis is the future owners of the real estate industry will be the owners of the real estate data. And we saw that to be true when VHT, the largest real estate photography company in the nation, sued Zillow and took them to the Supreme Court for monetizing the photos post-closing outside of their license. It spotlighted on the entire industry, not just Zillow, that pretty much nobody owns these photos except the real estate photographers. I know that to be very true. I've been licensing real estate images for the past decade, and the reality is the license to use the photos is only a license to use. It's not the ownership rights. So the realtor cannot transfer them to the MLS, the copyright, and then the MLS doesn't own it, even though they think they own it. So we believe that since our platform co-creates with the agent and our terms and conditions say that we're the copyright owner and we're giving a license to use, we're very well positioned to accumulate real estate data and actually be able to become a real estate data company in the making. The National Association of Realtors has had some struggles with the Department of Justice in a landmark case where it could upend the industry. I personally believe that it will be overturned in 2 years. Nevertheless, everyone is baking in a worst case scenario of income compression, approximately around 30%. And because of that, there's going to be a ton of M&A between the next 6 to 24 months targeted towards prop tech companies that will create operational efficiencies. And we're very well positioned with our association with the National Association of Realtors, our understanding of what's going on and which strategics are likely to acquire our company. It's a global market. We've created a completely downward scalable solution the ease of use and the breadth of customer base around the world makes us a high growth company in the making. With about only a year after launch and $400,000 worth of annual reoccurring revenue happening by Q2 of this year. We're very excited about our promise. We have done 0 sales and marketing to date. The seed round that we're raising right now is to amplify our sales and marketing systems and apparatus. And we're very excited about the growth potential in our company, focused on creating a growth rate of about 20% a month to month, starting at the end of Q2 this year. Our intellectual property, we have copyrights, trademarks, and we have worldwide patents. We have great law firms representing us, and we intend to defend ourselves if necessary. Unleashing the power of AI in real estate, media production, video tours, contractor content, agent branded content, and AI generated photo to video. We have some of the largest real estate data archives on the planet, and we own them, and we are processing them, and we are learning every day how to modulate at the pixel level, millions of pixels per second for all the images that come into our servers. Our go-to-market strategy has been to white label to enterprises like the ones on this page that have hundreds of thousands of agents worldwide. And we have already launched with Douglas Elliman and are in talks with 3 others on this page. We're very excited about how that reduces our costs of acquisition. Android and iOS, we're in English only, but plan to be in 40 languages within 1 year's time. Let's see. Our platform allows you to shoot like a pro. Okay, you're not a professional photographer, but our platform empowers you to shoot like a professional with our short tutorials, our in-app camera features. It teaches you how to shoot like a pro in minutes. What took me years to understand how to take proper composition of real estate property, the correct angles, the places to be, we've reduced it to 60 seconds of learning. And so we've simplified the process greatly. You're able to customize your content with logos, branding, contact information, select your licensed music, send it off, and sit back and relax. I edited it automatically and deliver it to you on the cloud. Let me see if
we're gonna need to get to the ask piece probably in a sec, so we have time for questions. Well, I mean, you don't have to skip through everything. We probably want to touch on some competition because I'm sure there'll be a question around competition stuff. You want to make sure you're touching on that.
So these are our co-founders. It's myself, Camilo Lopez, Kristen Weeks, Anastasia Nekrasova, Eva Dussel. We've been together for a decade. We've been through several wars together, some of them being COVID, the Ukraine-Russia war, and an ex-partner in an old company. It is a battle-tested team of people that are loyal and strong and honest and hardworking. Douglas Elliman team, Dan Sacker, Howard Lorber, strongly believe in our abilities and trust us implicitly. The National Association of Reach has assigned us 2 portfolio managers that are excellent veterans in the space. They have a global team of portfolio managers that support us in our endeavors. Advisors, Joe DeGrossa, private equity, has done billions of dollars in transactions and also to be an investor in this round. Our counsels, Brent Friedman, our lawyer, Ted Musellin's was a COO of Hauser and a strategic partnership person at Zillow. It's not only in contract, but potentially our future COO. Julio Ponce, our chief financial officer, has done billions and billions of dollars worth of transactions in Latin America. Chief technology officer, George Poblet, is an expert in open source technologies for ERPs, CRMs, manages a team of 50 developers. Nate Graham was the product developer at ClickFunnels, which is going to help us create our return on advertising spend somewhere between 4 and 5 to 1. This was our launch. Second. Phase 2 in the summer. Let's see, we already did that. Sorry, our deck's a little bit long. We're asking $5 million. We want to do use these funds for sales and marketing, have an office in Santiago, Chile to deal with our Latin American expansion. We're having an office in Spain for our European expansion. The operating company is in Florida. The subsidiaries will be in Chile and in Spain. The resources will be to expand upon our developments, but the rest of it is going to be for sales and revenue generating activities. If anyone has any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Well, Camilo, I think one of the things that I was hoping that you uh, that I should have highlighted actually before you went was your personal skin in the game, which I think that having built a business before, having effectively bootstrapped this business to this point, to largely, I know you've taken in some outside capital, but it's largely come from you. Could you speak to that for the audience as well?
Yeah, so I've been self-funded to date. I've invested about $2.2 million. We've been very selective of the people that we have brought on for the first year, just being with close strategic friends, family, and a very small amount of money. Pretty much just Douglas Elliman, the National Association of Realtors, and one other advisor. It's pretty much only been 3 investors outside of myself. So pretty much to date, I've invested more than 80% of the capital that's been put into the company. And now that we are sure about what we're doing, and I would be now is when I'm asking my mother to invest, you know, and not then. This is the time to scale. The year of 2023 will be the year to scale, and 2024, we actually believe it's possible through aligning ourselves with the correct strategics to be in a position to be acquired. And I'd love to explain that further.
Yeah, great. Well, I think we have a question here. Let's first is the question is around the commercial real estate use case. Is there an additional use case for commercial?
Our platform is being designed right now for commercial. It's only 3 days of work to be able to just list that you're tapping on a commercial property, and then we have them all listed, warehouses, office, whatever it is that you're trying to advertise. We're going to have residential, commercial, and agent branded content.
Camilo, is it possible for you to show us a quick sample of something that
I know
created by
this
somebody
deck,
who never used your product before?
this
Like you said?
deck, I thought I had it. Let me see if I can just switch over to the other one. Probably should have used the simpler deck. Let's see. See if we can do this. Here we go.
While you do that, I'll share that one of the interesting additional applications, I think, to Camilo's point earlier, is the amount of data that he's essentially saved in the video creation over the many years. And he's actually already spoken with Georgi from Perlin, who I know Peter's familiar with, and there are some interesting potential partnerships or collaborations there in the future. So some of you who are familiar with our other portfolio company, anyway, go forward with the video. I was trying to stall there.
Infinite Creator Real Estate Content Creation app empowers realtors to build a brand with professional quality videos at a very low price. Attract more clients, get more listings, make more money. From agent property tours to agent commercials, real estate tips, and educational videos, we have all the templates you need to create and post branded videos to your social media accounts every single day. The intuitive in-app camera features make sure you get a smooth and professional shot every time, without needing a stabilizer. You efficiently recreate the video template with your footage and words by following the easy step-by-step instructions. We take all of the thinking out of the process, and a 40-hour production is reduced to only 15 minutes. Sell more with Infinite Creator Real Estate.
Actually, and I also will gladly send examples of what the final product looks like, but they're right on our website, infinitecreator.com. Go straight to the bottom, and it'll be probably better resolution anyway. The value that comes out of this technology is being resold by photographers for $500. So it's high quality, it's being used by professionals, but it's so easy, anybody could use it.
Right. Other questions for the group, please, from the group, please.
Do you have augmented reality style, like dropping in staging into empty spaces on your roadmap anywhere?
Yeah, so we're currently in talks with a family office that owns a company that has windows and doors. That's a 100-year-old organization. And they would like to use our technology to not replace their estimators, their national estimators, but they'd like to empower all of they're one of the largest in the United States. They'd like to empower their homeowners to take a photo of their house and that the photos are reimagined with their windows and doors, be able to select in between their styles and automatically create an estimate. So yes, it's not only couple months projects, maybe once we sign an agreement. That agreement could be 7 figures, to give you some context. Any other questions? I'd love to answer them.
You said you launched the phone app back in 2022, right?
The fall of 2022, essentially the end of the year.
How
We've
is it
basically been in like 14 months.
and how is it doing?
So we've done, like I said, it was basically 23 was our first year. $250,000 in annual reoccurring revenue without any sales and marketing. We were hyper focused on speaking with our clients, learning from their experiences, expanding the feature base, which took us 9 months to build agent branded content, which is what we've done. What we launched with was a world's first, and agent branded content's also a world's first in the simplicity and the automation. Now 2024, we're going to be starting in a couple weeks, sales and marketing, now that we're ready to scale. I haven't had any out of all of at the end of each project, you're able to rate each project. There's 1 to 5 stars. There hasn't been anybody who's rated a 1, 2, or 3 stars on a project. Our B2E and B2B customers have not churned since they signed up. And we're gaining traction with the agents.
So the people who are buying your phone apps, not agents, but I'm talking about regular people who go to their iPhone app store and paying for your app. Who are they, like Airbnb type of people? Who's buying your app?
No, we're speaking to Airbnb directly. It's really it's real estate agents, and it's photographers and contractors, and we're also speaking with Chase Mortgage. They want the agent branded content side for their 3,000 agents. We're speaking with CoreLogic. They have the Matrix app, putting us into alliance partnership. So I'm very focused on B2E, and the sales and marketing team will be focused on the B2B.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that is probably a great place to end it for now and take the other questions over to the chat. So Camilo, thank you so much for presenting. We're going to ask you to stick around and answer any other questions that might come up in the chat window, and I'll also share your contact information. And the feeling that we're going to have some follow-up here with this one. So I think next up I'm looking for Megan. Megan, are you with us?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Well, there you are. Hi. Hey.
Hi,
What time is it where you are right now?
I'm in Nairobi, Kenya. It's 5 a.m.
Oh, well, thank you so much for getting up early for us
Problem.
and joining out. Let me just share with the group. Really big thank you to Mark Belinsky for making the connection here for us. I was just blown away when I had the chance to speak with Megan a couple weeks ago. She is a Harvard and MIT alum who also served in the Peace Corps and has just dedicated her life to actually helping the underfunded, I would say, or small SMEs, make sure that they can secure the funding they need across Africa. And I think there's some incredible traction that she's going to get to share with us tonight with some of the banks that she's working with and how she's just de-risking their loan portfolios. And I just think that there's nobody better to do it and to execute from what I've seen here. So I'm really happy you could make the time to join us and to share with our group, Jose. So why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Garrett. Thanks for the introduction. It's great to meet and see everybody. I'm just going to share my screen. So what we're doing at Jose is unlocking small business lending across emerging markets by being a bridge between financial institutions and the small business owners that they're meant to serve. So if you're not familiar with the market in sub-Saharan Africa, there's a $331 billion credit gap. Now, I think actually once applying for credit becomes something that's more affordable, more automated, more within the realm of possibility for business owners, we'll actually discover that this credit gap is much larger. And when you include the informal sector, so these are unregistered businesses, the gap is almost twice as large as this, according to the IFC. Now, there's a massive development priority to close this credit gap that governments and direct finance institutions and other multinationals are playing in, but it's also a large private sector opportunity. So in the formal sector alone, we predict that the opportunity here is $60 billion. And this is just looking at a revenue share model on the interest that can be generated from closing this credit gap. Now, I know most people are joining from the US where interest rates are very, very different than they are in emerging markets. When we look at the financial institutions providing small business credit in emerging markets, you're starting at the lowest end at 36% APR. I met someone running a microfinance institution in Zambia that's charging 30% per month. So actually there is a ton of and we don't want to be involved in 30% per month. Let me just put that out there, but it is a really large opportunity in closing this revenue gap. We're just looking here, like I said, at the formal sector, we're just looking here at sub-Saharan Africa. But when you look across emerging markets, the credit gap is much larger at $5 trillion. And we're already either working with and earning revenue from partners like the World Bank that obviously operate globally and commercial banks in Africa that have presence in Asia. And so while we're starting in Africa, we really see Jose as a scalable solution for any market where cash is king and small businesses still form the backbone of their economies. So obviously, if there's such a large and untapped opportunity, different players are really working to close this gap in different ways. And I'm going to give a little bit extra background because I'm not sure how many people here are familiar with the financial landscape that we have in sub-Saharan Africa. So really, there's been 3 different approaches to closing the small business credit gap in the private sector. The first is digital lenders. Some of you might know Tala because they're based in LA and working in Kenya and Mexico. These digital lenders have very high foreign exchange risks, and they end up having to pass that on to their customers, leading to incredibly high interest rates, like the 30% monthly that I mentioned. Because of this, they end up creating a market for lemons, as we would say in economics, meaning that they're pulling in only the borrowers that don't have the opportunity to borrow from anyone else, which actually pushes up the risk of their portfolio overall. Higher default rates, it pushes to higher interest rates, so it's a downward spiral. And this creates very big reputational risks for these companies going to extreme lengths to collect cash and then market backlash for regulation. So that's where the neobanks stepped in over the past 6 or 7 years, primarily in large markets like Nigeria. And these neobanks were trying to solve the FX risk by getting deposits that they could then online to their customers. The issue is that these are still very traditional markets. Most borrowers have never borrowed from a formal institution before. And the idea of, these are very low trust societies. The idea of putting your cash into an app where in the hands of our customers, you don't know where to go to put hands on somebody if something goes wrong, is a very risky proposition for the majority of the customers. And so neobanks end up, if they get, either they don't do much lending, or if they're doing much lending, they actually are acting more like digital lenders and having to raise dollar-denominated debt to on-lend. The third group is the traditional banks. These banks have the brand, they have the branches, they have the balance sheet. They are terrible at technology, and have these embedded ways that they're using to assess credit risk that end up excluding the majority of the market. We have incredibly low credit bureau coverage. You can kind of count the credit bureaus out. And so what they do is they end up restricting lending to salaried workers, which form the minority of the market. About 98% of people, depending on the country, are involved in some sort of self-employment or working for a small business, not salaried workers. And then they end up asking for really high collateral, which continues to exclude people. So what we're doing differently at OZE is we're powering the data and technology of a digital lender on top of the assets of traditional financial institutions. We've built a platform with 2 products. These products work independently, but as I'll go into, they really work beautifully when they're working together. So our OZE lending management system is for the financial institutions. It integrates directly into their core banking infrastructure, allowing them to automate and digitize a small business lending portfolio. There are 2 major value propositions to the financial institution. So the first is drastically reducing the cost of origination through automation. So if you think about it, over the past 2 years that we've been doing lending, our average loan size is about $1,500. If you're a traditional bank that's having a relationship manager visit a branch, analyze paper records like receipt books and ledger books, the time that goes into assessing that customer, even if that customer pays back on time, basically erodes away the entire profit margin. And so when banks say they're lending to SMEs, small, medium enterprises, they're really only lending to medium enterprises, and again, only those with collateral. So they're excluding the majority of the market there because of the cost. The other major value that we offer is our credit risk algorithm. So we've developed a machine learning model that predicts the propensity of the business owner to repay. Most small and medium enterprises in Africa act more like people than institutions. And so you really have to create a blend of a consumer credit risk model with an affordability model designed for more enterprise credit. So we've been lending our own money. These numbers are growing pretty quickly, so we're a little bit out of date. We've been lending our own money for the past 2.5 years in some of the most volatile. I mean, we all have seen what the debt markets have been like for the past couple of years, but in the most volatile markets, we've lent now over $600,000 with a 92% repayment rate, which is really strong for unsecured lending for SMEs in Africa. Some of our best cohorts have less than 2% NPL. So we've been pushing the envelope, knowing that at this stage in our business, the value of having some defaults in our data set to better train our models is actually more important than losing some of that capital, because across from day one, our lending portfolio has been profitable. We were able to do a proof of concept with the largest bank in Africa, which is now actually one of our clients. And for them, we were able to reduce their non-performing loans ratio by 58% in a simulated environment. And not only do we reduce risk, but because we're digitizing and automating, we're able to provide incredible loan portfolio growth. From a profitability standpoint, what's really exciting for us and what's really exciting for the banks is that 98% of customers who pay back borrow again, oftentimes the same day. So although this is term loans, the revenue looks more like a recurring revenue model. And on average, there's 130% increase between the first and second loan size of our borrowers as we're able to have more information on them. So that's the one side of the platform that works with the financial institutions. And like I said, can work independently. It can run completely on data that is user permissioned or already in the ownership of the financial institution. The other side of our platform is the OZE Business Management app. Think of it as a very simplified QuickBooks mixed with a very simplified Shopify. So it replaces the ledger book, recording sales, expenses, payables, and receivables. We don't use any accounting language, so you wouldn't see payables and receivables. You'd see an unpaid sale or an unpaid expense. We provide digital receipting and invoicing with payments. inventory management, and then within minutes, once you put your inventory in the app, you can create your own e-commerce website and collect sales directly from your customers over the internet. Layered on top of all of this, because many of our business owners are very informal, is education and support. So we provide daily business tips, monthly business seminars, and access to an on-demand business coach. So again, most business owners are using this independently to keep their records, but they can also apply for a loan through this application. And so for this to be really powerful, we need the app to be great. We have a 93% NPS from these customers. 34% of our weekly transacting users are on a premium version of the app, even though, so really you need to put yourself in the shoes of this is a very different market. For 94% of our SMEs, they've never paid for software before. They've never paid for an app before. We are the first app that they're actually paying for. And we were the first subscription app in Ghana. And then once we get users on the platform, it's very sticky. So for 71% of our activated customers are still using Oze 6 months later. And so that's using the business app by itself. But like I said, when we bring these two platforms together, that's where you get truly industry-leading performance. So customers that apply for loans through our app or that have Oze data in addition to the bank data, on average are approved for twice as much capital. And the non-performing loans ratio in this cohort is an industry-leading 1.98%. And so when these two platforms are used together, you get more growth in the size of loans, more repeat borrowers, lower risk. And so you're able to rapidly accelerate the profit margins and size of your lending portfolio. In terms of our go-to-market strategy, we sell into banks and we embed the loan application into the bank's digital channels. This means we don't have to go out and acquire SME customers. The banks acquire them for us. These MSMEs, when they apply for a loan, regardless of if they're approved or not, are onboarded to the Oze platform. Now, using Oze to run their business, they bring other small businesses onto the Oze platform who can then apply for a loan through our app. We know where our customers bank. So if they apply for a loan through our app and they bank with one of our partners, we route their loan application to that bank. If they don't, we route that loan application to one of our partner banks. And that means that these customers can actually be an acquisition channel for new banks. Let's say Bank A is an Oze partner, Bank B is not an Oze partner. In a month, we can do, let's say, $2 million of loans to Bank B's customers. And then we can approach Bank B and say, we've given $200 million of loan book of your customers to Bank A. This was the NPL. If you want us to stop moving your customers to this other bank, then you need to start working with Oze. From a business model standpoint, we make the majority of our revenue on the financial institution side. It's typically a share of interest on loans, about 30% of interest. We'll also do 4 to 5% of origination fees in markets where sharing interest is not allowed by central banking. We get paid consulting and integration fees to customize the platform, sometimes paid directly by the financial institution, sometimes paid by development financial institutions. So these are people like the World Bank, the African Development Bank. When we bring new customers into a bank, we get a customer acquisition fee. And we're now introducing SaaS as well on the financial institution side. Just like many of the small business owners have never paid for software, many of the banks also are not used to SaaS fees. On the MSME side, so those that adopt the Oze platform, it's a freemium model. The majority of customers are on the free version, but we have subscriptions of $4 to $25 a month. We do have a pilot portfolio where we experiment with new lending products, where we get all of the interest income. And then for the part of our app where we're enabling e-commerce, we have a take rate on the sales. We started an enterprise-focused strategy. So at the beginning of last year, we switched from acquiring SMEs to acquiring banks, and that really unlocked revenue growth for us. So in January of 2023, we did about $5,000 of revenue. December of this year, we did $90,000 of revenue. We made just under $700,000 in 2023, but are predicting to make several million dollars in 2024. And that's because Oze is really at an inflection point. So selling to banks, having them take on the risk on their balance sheet, but put the decisioning on you, it's a very long sales cycle. We're lending with one microfinance bank in Ghana, but that bank I mentioned, the largest bank in Africa, that's become our client. We've done the integrations with them now to be their digital merchant origination software across all 33 markets where they work. They did about $2 billion of SME loans this year, but just like Uber grew the market for taxis, Oze is going to grow the market for lending. And the pipeline is so full right now that I don't have enough engineers to actually integrate all of the contracted work that we have. And so that's really the impetus behind this round. Echo Bank went live in Rwanda. We started doing a pilot lending our first loans at the end of November, and we're about to go commercially live with them. Really imminently, we had to wait till the African Cup of Nations was over because they had a big ad buy there and didn't want to push anything beyond releasing their new brand. But this month is when we'll really start earning revenue from Echo Bank. After going live in Rwanda, this quarter we'll actually be live with them in 7 markets, because integrating once with the core banking infrastructure was very time consuming, but opening up a new market is only a couple of hours of work. And so we're predicting by the end of next year, we'll be doing $1 million of revenue per quarter and growing very quickly from there. In terms of the the competitive landscape, we're the only platform that enables banks to lend, but actually owns that end SME customer. So every customer that applies through the bank for an Oze loan becomes Oze's customer, which allows us to upsell, which allows us to keep interest rates very low, and also allows us to bring alternative data into our credit risk model, meaning that the banks can't replace us with the data scientists that they hire in-house, because we have this very valuable analog data of cash-based and offline sales. So there are other players that are helping banks lend. Jumo is the oldest and largest on the continent, based out of South Africa. And then there's a more robust landscape of businesses trying to work directly with the SMEs. They took the digital lender approach and borrowed dollars and euros. So actually we're seeing, I had to update this slide yesterday because we had some people leave the market because of the bad choices they made in becoming digital lenders. In terms of my team, Garrett already gave such a nice introduction. So I was in the Peace Corps in Guinea-Conakry. I launched the first business accelerator in Guinea back in 2012 and scaled it to be the largest small business accelerator in Francophone Africa. So I've worked with thousands and thousands of small business owners and really came to understand where the bottlenecks are in this market. Outside of that work, I was a management consultant doing innovation strategy globally with Fortune 50 companies, and most relevant to the work that I do now, helped design Barclays Digital Bank for Africa. And like Garrett said, I went to grad school at MIT and Harvard with the goal of, after graduation, moving back to Africa and launching a venture in the small business space. And at MIT is where I met Dr. Yokosi from the economics department, who builds our credit risk models. He's a PhD economist and worked in finance and insurance before getting his PhD. My co-founder, Dave, and I met through the Peace Corps. He was a Peace Corps volunteer in the Republic of Benin. During the Ebola crisis, I had to move my accelerator from Guinea to Benin. That's where I met Dave. So we've been working together since 2015. And outside of that experience, he led marketing for financial institutions in the US. P.S. Spratley, who runs product, was most recently the chief product officer at a data-driven AI company out of South Africa that's at a Series B level. You might know it's called Aerobotics. They also sell in the States. And before that, she worked at Rocket Internet with SME-facing products in Southeast Asia. So we're raising a $1.75 million round. The goal of this is really just to bridge into profitability. Because of our business model, we have a lot of upfront investments before it starts paying back. The payback will happen this year, but we want to make sure that we can raise our Series A from both a place of growth and profitability. The milestones that we're looking to hit is to get to that over 1 million ARR. Right now we're at $1 million run rate, but to actually recognize that revenue, as well as diversify into a couple of multinational banks that are already far down in our pipeline. We just got terms on this round and have 75% of the round committed. It's being led internally by existing investors. Speed Invest, which is one of the leading European seed funds. We are one of their first investments in Africa. as well as Africa Invest, which is, we are their first seed investment in Africa, but they're a private equity firm based out of Tunisia that have been investing now a lot in tech, but
Did we freeze?
closing a deal right now in Rwanda with a bank that operates across 7 or 8 East African markets, and Africa Invest is on the board and was able to introduce me there.
Megan,
So
just,
I will leave it there for questions. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't know if it just happened to me or if it happened for others on the call, but I think that we ended up skipping over having a little bit of a technical issue when you're touching on one of the large the banks that you just recently closed that's going to help you scale across Africa. If you could repeat that last little data point, I think it'd be great, and then we'll get to questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the pop-up saying my internet connection was unstable. So welcome everyone to working in Africa. We are getting close to closing a deal. This bank is called INM Bank. We'd launched first in Rwanda with them, but they're across 7 or 8 East African markets. So EcoBank, who we already have the continent-wide contract for, is in 33 markets. So they are the largest, and they're going to bring us scale. But we want to be in several multinationals before we raise our Series A, so that we dilute that concentration risk. And I'll just mention, because it just happened this week, it's the reason I'm in Kenya, but we just completed the Visa FinTech Accelerator for Africa. We were in their first cohort, and we're working with Visa to actually create a small business credit card that we can roll out across the continent and be the underwriters there. And we'll have it finalized in a few weeks, but it's very likely that Visa will actually join the cap table in this round.
Wonderful.
And I see Adam's question in the chat. I'll just answer it because I'm sure a lot of people have that in mind. This is an internally led round, and it's meant to be very friendly to investors, because we're at that inflection point and really just want to close this round so that I can launch in 7 countries in the next 6 weeks. And so we're raising a $9 million post-money valuation.
Okay, well, I have questions, but let's make sure we get other questions from the group first, because I always leave things off. Anybody want to chime in with a question first? All right, well, I'm going to ask a leading question then. I think one of the things that we touched on, I think you covered in the presentation, but it doesn't hurt to hit it again, is the difference in performance that the banks are seeing when they implement your software. On average, you have some really interesting data on their ROI and why it makes so much sense for them to use you and to work with you. So could you just hit that one more time for the group?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that banks today.
Oh, we'll give her a second here and see if our internet catches up. Yeah.
Very high,
Oh,
and this is why
but
did I lose you?
you froze for a second there, so we're going to try again. Start over from the beginning of that question, please.
Sure. So the way that banks are assessing small businesses in Africa is using risk acceptance criteria, which is basically a checklist. So how long have you been with the bank? What's your debt coverage ratio? How much capital do you have in your bank account? And in some markets, they don't even have an internal credit score that the bank is giving. We say they're lending off of vibes. And because of that, default rates are incredibly high. And that's why they end up in this situation where they're requiring cash collateral. Sometimes the cash collateral is actually larger than the size of the loan, which is something that blew my mind. So with EcoBank, for example, we did a proof of concept. We reduced their non-performing loans by 58%, from about 13.3% down to 2%. With Lesotho Post Bank, which is the national bank in a Southern African country, we reduced non-performing loans by 84%. But this isn't just about reducing risk, it's about growing the size of the pie, because they're having those loss rates with this very tiny sliver that they're able to serve. But we're actually making it so the small businesses that bank with them can access capital from them affordably. And so that means we'll both be reducing risk while growing the size of their portfolio.
And I don't know if you touched on or not on this presentation, but you're a Delaware C Corp. The IP is hosted in the United States. Can you just cover those bases for the group real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a Delaware company. All of the IP as well as our large contracts are in Delaware Corporation. We have operating subsidiaries in Ghana and Nigeria because we launched there and most of our team is there, but our model is scalable across Africa. We basically ride on the governance, the regulatory, the licensing rails of our partner financial institutions. So we're not going to have to go open, 54 OZE subsidiaries to serve the rest of the African market.
Great. All right, come on, team. I'm sure there's a question or two out there. Please, Adam, you got a gold star for asking a couple of night. Well, I got any other ones from the group?
Yeah, Garrett, unfortunately, I joined late and missed some of the initial part of the presentation, but I heard a lot of South Africa in there. So being an ex-South African, very interested to learn more, maybe in a separate forum and catch up on some of the early part of this that I missed.
Yeah, I actually think
Happy to.
that's a wonderful part about this event tonight is because of the fintech focus. I think, and obviously there's a fintech or prop tech focus. I think the founders are going to have fun following up with each other. It seems like on the call. So, hopefully there's still a use for us investors. But I know that there's definitely some. Adam, I see you shaking your head, Adam. That's great. Thanks. Okay. What do you, let's talk, I mean, I think this question came up on the past presentation. What do you view as being, the exit outcome that's most likely for OZE?
There's a couple of categories of exits, like types of acquirers. So one would be a financial institution, right? That's the most straightforward path. They want to prevent their competitors from using OZE software, and so they buy us and use us and either continue letting us work with other banks, but they're getting a cut of it, or we become exclusive. The second is someone in the payments industry, right? So Visa joining our cap table puts us down the path where we could be acquired by a Visa. But we're also working with the largest payment service provider on the continent called Flutterwave. They're gearing up to go public on the New York Stock Exchange in the next 12 to 18 months. We're helping them basically underwrite loans for merchants that use their platform. And then the third category would be somebody like an Intuit that wants to increase their footprint in Africa, get down into the SMEs. QuickBooks obviously exists in Africa, but QuickBooks serves a slightly different segment than we serve. And being able to come in with a product that's both doing record keeping and lending like QuickBooks already does in the US, it's a really interesting value proposition.
Very good. Okay, well, I think that if there's one more question, we can do it. Otherwise, we can take it over to the chat window. Anyone raise a hand?
Yep.
Go for it.
Yeah, perfectly. Thanks, Garrett. And yeah, great presentation. Just maybe two related questions. One is, I saw in the presentation, maybe you can expand on this, the business app helps with the risk assessments. And I just wanted to understand the data foundation to pull together the risk assessments. And secondly, you also wanted to understand how representative are your cohorts compared to your attainable market?
Can you repeat that second question?
Oh, yeah. How representative are your cohorts of your current portfolio as compared to your, say, attainable market that you've identified earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. Great questions. So in terms of the data that we're using and how the SME app data can be helpful, when we did the proof of concept, so this risk reduction that I'm talking about, the 58%, the 84%, because that had to be anonymized, we actually couldn't marry the bank's data set with our data set. So that's the improvement we got just by using data that we can get at any bank that we work with. What's really nice about the OZE data is in the cohorts that have OZE data, like the actual lending we've been doing for the past 2.5 years, we end up being able to approve them for more. The non-performing loans, they are at less than 2% and are nothing. The banks don't come in anywhere close to less than 2% NPL. The data coming from the app falls into two broad categories. The first is performance data. So think of that as accounting data, sales and expenses, but also when you sell on credit, how good are you at collecting it? When you buy on credit, how often, like how good are you at paying that back? And then behavioral data. So do you look at your business dashboard? Do you read the business tips? Are you batching your transaction entry to once a week or once a month? Are you doing it daily? Are you sending receipts to your customers? How diversified is your customer base? So those two things come in and allow us to approve for more, approve for lower risk. And that kind of feeds into the second question that you have. So how representative is our current loan portfolio of the addressable market? And we're actually probably, if we think about the pyramid, we're probably more towards base of the pyramid than we will be as we start scaling through these financial institutions. So many of our business owners are sole proprietors. They're on average borrowing about $1,300. In the pilot that we ran with EcoBank Rwanda, on average, it was $5,000. And that's because in addition to serving these excluded businesses at the base of the pyramid, they also, being the leading bank, have a lot of the medium enterprises that we can now score and increase our profit margins. So like one of the customers that we trained our financial model on, our risk model on in Rwanda, is the hotel that you would have seen in the movie Hotel Rwanda, which is a lovely hotel, still thriving, has really come back. So we're going to move a bit up market. With EcoBank and with many of the other banks, something that's super exciting is they are agnostic as to the formalization of the business. So we're first launching this product through commercial bank accounts. So you need to be a registered business. You need to have a commercial bank account, but we're launching next month in all the same countries, a similar lending product through a consumer bank account. So the majority of consumers the majority of SMEs are in the informal sector. And by giving business loans into consumer accounts, you're actually serving the most sophisticated of the informal sector. And those are the customers that look a lot like the customers we've been lending to for the past 2.5 years.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Garrett, do we have time for one more quick question?
Of course we do. Go for it, Peter.
So Megan, first of all, I thought this was a great presentation. Is it possible to take this business model and expand it beyond Africa at some point?
Absolutely. So the African market is a really big open space right now. We have very, very few competitors. The ones that are coming up behind us were more advanced than most of them. And with data science plays, you build a big moat by getting access to more data more quickly. But there's broad application of this in Asia, in Latin America, in the Middle East. So I was in Singapore a couple months ago, and people from Bangladesh were coming to me saying, "Oh, we need this, we need this, we need this." Africa's a massive market. It's where I have deep networks and expertise. So we're starting here, but yeah, we expect to be a global emerging markets company in our future.
It's great. Does OZE actually mean anything? I was just curious about the name.
Yeah, actually, it's how I typically end my pitches, but this felt like more of a conversation than a formal pitch. But OZE actually means dare. So we took it from the French word ose, but we spelled it wrong because we didn't want it to belong to any, like we said, if it belonged to one language, then people would feel excluded. But if it was not a real word, it could belong to anybody. And it's to really celebrate the small business owner who we see as the most daring person out there. And so we celebrate them in the name of our company by calling it OZE.
Great. Great. Thank you.
Well, I tell you what, you're a tough act to follow, Megan. But why don't you stick around and see if there are any additional questions that pop up in chat, at least for a few minutes. Maybe share your email address with the group as well, and then certainly look forward to following up with you too. I would promise at the beginning of the night that we we're going to kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive, and that's what we've done with these companies today. We've had a little bit of a longer form a chance to chat with them. But I also said that we were going to have a founder or two come back and share an update. I asked Kevin. Kevin was able to make it on, so I wanted to hand the floor over to him just to share what was going on with paperwork. And it looks like we're going to be following on alongside our friends at Kickstart VC, and I'll hand it over to Kevin to share the exciting news with Baxter Credit Union and others.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. Great to see everybody again. In terms of our update, we're super focused on two core main verticals, particularly the first one, which is the credit union vertical. So for folks that don't know, we offer a white label financial wellness platform to credit unions, who in turn offer that to their members and prospective members. One of our kind of flagship clients, Baxter Credit Union, BCU, the use case that they've evolved for our platform is to actually offer the white label version of our platform to company partners. These are big corporate employers throughout America whose employees are eligible to become members of Baxter. So Baxter have really been a great distribution channel for us. They are distributing our app, our platform throughout their company partner network. This year is super exciting, as Garrett mentioned, because the aim is to distribute our app to two of their core company partners. One is Target, so 400,000 employees, and we're aiming for a go live date there of July or August, so Q3 most likely. And then also the United Health Group, also kind of in the region of about 400,000 employees. So just a great leg up in terms of distribution. And as we see more success, there are a number of other company partners that are kind of being rolled out on a monthly basis. So that's going really well. And they've also indicated that they do want to renew the contract with us, of course, given all of these great implementations coming up this year. So that's been a core focus. On the back of our success with BCU, we're seeing a lot of inbound interest from other credit unions. I think I mentioned at our last in-person meeting, Garrett, it takes a long time to break into the credit union industry, but once you start showing traction, and once you show validation, tends to become a lot easier, and other credit unions kind of follow on. So we've got a great pipeline, aiming to implement probably another 4 or 5 credit unions, hopefully by Q3 this year as well. So that's the one main channel. In addition, we've also signed a MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with a company called Balance. Balance is a very well-respected national coaching and counseling program that also partners with credit unions, and we're actually integrating a lot of the Balance educational content and their counseling services right within our app, which is a great, I think, a great combined value add for credit unions. The flip side of the relationship with Balance is that they work with 300 credit unions already and are looking to kind of upsell those credit unions to a more digitized experience. So that's a great distribution partnership in the making there. So that's, I think those are the couple of kind of high notes, exciting developments on the credit union front. The other vertical that we've just started, putting our toe in the door there is direct to employers. You read all the news, you see how financial wellness is really the flavor of the day. Huge demand from both employees and employers for better, more digitized financial wellness resources. So we're looking to partner with payroll companies, benefits providers, 401k providers into the workforce, and are having some great early stage discussions there. Hopefully some announcements to follow on soon from that. Those are really our two core areas of focus, and seeing some great momentum now on both fronts. So I'll stop there. Thank you, Garrett. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome, Kevin. Well, again, you missed it, but I'm going to send you the video link because you need to hear from Sandra, because there's too much synergy amongst our founders again here with your guys' shared networks. But one thing I'll touch on too, just for the group quickly, is that you'll see within the UNES deck when we forward that along that actually, thanks to Kevin, UNES will be integrated within the Money Tracks app as an affiliate partner offered through some of these channels as well. So it's just it's awesome to be able to connect the dots amongst our founders and find win-wins there. So
Absolutely.
we're going to get UNES in front of BCU and Target and the other employer channels as well. So it's moving things in the right direction. Thank you, Kevin, for your
Sure. Thank you. Thank you all. Yep.
an update. Okay, we have 11 minutes, and I want to hear from you guys. So what companies you think should advance? So I'm going to start off. Sandra, I'm going to say thank you so much. This is the time when our founders sign off. So Sandra, did you make sure you shared your contact info as well in the chat? Okay, I'll do it.
I will. I'll do it right now, and then I'll sign off. See you
Okay.
all. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
All right, Bill, you get to go. Oh, thank you, Megan. You get to go first tonight. Where's Bill? There you are. And let us know what you thought.
I thought Megan, I'll wait a minute to make a comment
Sorry. I'm
until
done.
Sandra signs off, although I don't have anything bad to say about her, but
That's all good.
Let's stop there.
yeah,